I'm the Beneteau importer for New South Wales. Each morning, race morning, on behalf of all the Beneteau dealers in Australia, we're going to be presenting this session called Shoot the Breeze. During the course of the week, we'll be sharing with you details about the race for the day, tides, tactics. We'll have guest speakers from the race committee, from sailmakers, tacticians. So for those of you who are new, this is a really informative session to come to every morning. For those of you who've perhaps been sailing a while, I think you'll still pick up a few things. So I'm going to hand over to our host for the week, Michael Spees. Michael, thank you very much.
Graham, thanks, and to Beneteau here, they put this on. It's a continuation of what they've done here probably for 20 years. So a big thanks to them. And also all our guest speakers really give their time. And this week we've got lined up some pretty good people, a variety of things. I know a lot of you people aspire to perhaps do an Asian regatta. We've got Simon James down here on the jury. He runs all the Asian regattas, so he's going to come tell you about King's Cup, Langkawi, Koh Samui regattas and all that. And given the fact that so many boats are in cruising division, it could be a bit of an eye-opener for him, perhaps something he might aspire to do in the future. We've got Gavin Brady coming as well, off the principal of the Bay Jest organisation, and hopefully Ian Murray later in the week as well. As I said, we've been doing this, I think the briefing's now for 17 odd years or something like that, and the fact remains nothing has really changed. Breeze is still basically in the southeast quadrant. Later in the week it might get around the northeast. Believe it or not, the islands are all still basically in the same spot, even barring what the earthquake happened. Start line's still basically in the same place for some of the boats. The eastern start line's out there. And we know today that the tide turns about 1:45. So sometimes between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, the water is going to go very, very slack and change. There's a rule of thumb here that all the charter boat operators will tell you that it always changes on the edges first. I was actually out training on the boat yesterday that I'm sailing on, and there were definitely some local anomalies there, and I won't go into them. Hopefully things will get back situation normal, but it was turning probably differently to what I expected it to do. At one point, we were out there yesterday, we saw tide in excess of 2 knots in the main channel, and even coming up here, we're nearly coming up the Dent Passage where we're going to be finishing, we saw it up to 3. A lot of you guys don't have the latest GPSs or that, but even in your toolbox you probably have got a speedo. There'll be a GPS there, so in between your speedo and your GPS and your wet compass and your also your GPS with the course over the ground, you can actually do a rough calculation on tide. Last week I did Airlie Beach, and basically I wasn't confident that our calibration was right. I was calculating the tide mentally just by looking at CAG as opposed to the heading, and also boat speed as opposed to speed over the ground. You can get a pretty good idea there. And most boats have that, and if you're not confident with your speed, you know, the calibration of your speedo, you can sort of, where there is no tide, perhaps even in here, compare the two, and you can sort of get a bit gauge, and you can sort of do it mentally on the run and get it pretty close. Obviously some of the boats have the latest, greatest Brooks and Gatehouse gear that will give you spit the thing out, but the gear is only as good as the calibration. And the fact that it's been fit to a certain boat in a certain way, and the speedo's in a certain spot on the hull and all that. We already basically know what's going to happen today. At the various times, we've got weather courses. Sorry, mate. We've got... Everyone's received the SMS. Basically, it's the Lindeman Island race. It's the Lindeman Island race, so all the guys' boats... all the boats apart from the IRC Passage boats start out in the eastern start line. Allow yourself plenty of time to get there, and you'll be basically going up through Lindeman. The tide absolutely roars there. Our race director Dennis Thompson has put this race on this day and started this time to try to ensure that all the boats get through that passage with the favourable tide. If you miss it, we'll see you tomorrow, I guess. My colleague Dave Tallis will explain about the mark situation and all that, and then run. So we're basically expecting the tide with us all day in a mid-sized boat. Changes about 1:45 here, so you're probably going to buck the tide a bit here. Then you want to set your boat up for a big run home here through the Dent Passage. The rating guys actually start out here, go around Dent Island, and then we'll converge with the rest of the fleet about here somewhere. And that's, of course, it's never been sailed here before, to the best of my knowledge. So we know basically when we bear away here, it's going to be a port pole initially. So there's so much we do know. So we can have all this bit of a chat, we get the sailing instructions out, talk to your crew through the whole thing, and we know exactly what's going to occur. At some stage we know more than likely we're going to be jibing here. If we come around here and the tide hasn't turned, we're going to be looking for relief. If it has turned, we want to get out in the full noise of it. As I said, things haven't changed. You can plan your day. It's one of the very, very few sports where we can plan our whole day ahead of schedule. One of our participants here just showed me on his radar, he's picked up some bad weather out there on the radar. We're going to have a look at that. So just keep eyes out of the boat. David's the rules expert, but I'll just say one thing about sailing. It's not a contact sport. So just respect the fact on the start line it's a long week. You can be technically right, but you're still going to have a pretty crook week if you're based on the hard stand over there being repaired. So just coexist out there. I mean, if it's a marginal cross, wave someone through, but make your intentions perfectly clear. No point trying to tack on someone and slow him up unless it really comes there, because it'll come back and bite you later in the week. As I said, just respect everyone else's out there. Respect the speed differential if you're on a slow boat and someone's on a fast boat. Last week I was on a 38-footer over at Early Beach and we had a big boat just speed up on us for no intention, no reason whatsoever, no gain to him. And it just wasn't right. It just wasn't us. It was every other little boat in the fleet, and we weren't even racing him. As I said, just coexist out there and you'll have a fantastic week. We're going to run out of time, so I'm going to pass over to my colleague Dave Tallis here. He's works in the race office with Dennis Thompson and myself very closely. He's an international judge, so you'll be able to ask questions off the floor from him if you have any rule things. Dave, well, I think we might just explain the water situation, particularly in this race first, if you can. Yeah, like calls for water and obstructions, etc. Anyway, Dave Tallis from the race office. Thank you.
Thanks, Beezy, and welcome to all the people who haven't been here before, and a big welcome back to everybody who was here last year. With the big fleet we've got this year, it makes it a little bit more complex for us. One of the new things we have to do this year is to instigate a process of knowing how many people are on your boat. And so you might have seen the little change to the sailing instructions, which said about we're going to send you a text message. It's going to work basically, we'll send a text message to the primary person on your boat. That person will then click on a little link which takes you to a web page which says, are you racing, yes or no? And then you can enter how many people are on your boat. As a safety point of view, and Maritime Safety Queensland has sort of insisted we do this, and I think it's a good move forward, so that if anything goes wrong out there, we know how many people and what we're looking for. So that's one of the changes. A couple of the other changes would do with courses. They're pretty minor, I think, there. One of the other changes from last year's rules we've put in is you can use your engines during racing for a number of certain circumstances. I think as Speezy said, this is a non-contact sport and we don't want you hitting each other. The boats are expensive. So we've put in there, if you're in aground or in imminent risk of running aground, or you're about to club into somebody, you've lost steerage or whatever, we don't mind you using your engine. Just come back and fill a declaration form in, and as long as you haven't gained some sort of significant advantage from it, we'll apply a suitable penalty. So don't feel that you just have to run in there and club your way through. You can use your engine to stop that sort of stuff from happening. Anyone that knows me, I talk a lot on the radio, so just make sure you're on the race frequencies for the start and for the finish. We've also asked you to stay on the race frequency when you're coming into finish in Dent Passage, and that's wholly and solely because we know when the planes are coming in, so we can tell you where you need to be to keep out of the way of the planes. It is really expensive if you make one go round. One thing we've done now this year is with the runway, you can see there's a bit of a hatched area where we really don't want you being in. So we've put this new finish line in on the far side, and today all the courses will be finishing on that finish line. The golf course jetty finish line. It may well be that it's more up in the little narrows there. It'll be obvious to you. It's a big red Audi mark and a boat, which is a Riviera 40 on the other end of the line. So once you're through there, there'll also be the marshal boats. They're the boats with big white flags with M flags on them. They'll just help you. They know when the flights are coming as well, and they can just let you go across there. If they do ask you not to go across the end of the runway, please don't do it. Because if you do, we have to disqualify you, and we really don't want to do that. Okay, what else have we got? I think the main thing for me is to just stay on the radio, because I do a lot of my talking on the radio. We're going to shorten course, I'll let you know on that. I know there's a lot of chatter and stuff out there, but everything that I'll be saying to you will be on that radio. The anchor. I wasn't going to mention the anchor, but now you've mentioned it, I will.
Sorry about that.
After a little bit of discussion with Club Marine, there was something in the notice of race that said you couldn't have your anchor protruding out of your bow. We've removed that requirement now, so most of your boats probably got anchors that you can't really move from the bow, so that's a safety point of view. So there has been an amendment to the notice of race, so if you can leave your anchors out there. Cool. Okay, so with our water out here, we'll be probably starting upwind. No, downwind, sorry, going the wrong way. Downwind. There is no requirement under the rules to hail for room on the shore, but it certainly helps. Out here in the passage, there's a little bommy just off the start club, on the yacht club side, which has got a pink buoy on it. We've also put 2 pink buoys on the ledge that comes out on Plum Pudding Island. So if you're starting in the passage here and you're getting near those, start calling for water. There is no requirement to do it, but it certainly helps if you do. And the earlier you do it, the better it is, because that boat will have to hail another boat, will have to hail another boat. But don't, again, if they're not giving you water, don't just barge into it and hit the bricks. Does that make sense for you? Yep.
And maybe just elaborate on that whole thing a little bit more, what upwind and all that on the side of Island.
Okay, so if you're going towards something, you might see this when you're coming up into Lindeman Island, I guess, and you're going on the upwind. If you're approaching the shore, you're allowed to hail for room to tack. And to hail for room to tack, the hail is, I need room to tack. You can ask for water, but somebody might throw you back a bottle of water. It's hail for room to tack. If somebody hails you for room to tack, you can only do one of 2 things. That's tack, or say, you tack. And if they tack, you better give them room. If they hit you, you'll be in the wrong. Now, if you're hailing for room to tack, and there's a lot of boats out there, you've got to give that boat time to hail the next boat, and time to hail the next boat, and time to hail the next boat. So if there's a whole bunch of you going in there, you do have to preempt a little bit and think, well, I might need to hail a little bit earlier than I would have if there was only one boat on my hip. Does that make sense to everybody? So just give everyone a little bit of time to get out of there. Again, don't just tack into the side of them. Use your engine, you have to. Try and avoid collisions. All good? Does anyone have any questions?
Just one quick question on the hole.
Yep.
On the start line, we have our engines running in neutral. And because,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I sail on a boat that's worth quite a lot of money, and
Can you repeat the question?
so the question was, can you have your engine running at the start, just in neutral, just in case you need to avoid something, and I have no problem with that, no problem at all with that. So if you see the exhaust coming out, doesn't necessarily mean it's got a clicked-in gear. Might have a clicked-in gear, but hopefully not. Look, the idea of this rule is to stop, expensive toys getting damaged. So let's not gain advantage by it. But yeah, certainly if you want to have your engine going at the start, in case of it, or you're about to go into the Narrows, say up in Lindeman there, yeah, absolutely, good seamanship. Any other questions? All right, well, good luck, and you'll hear me on the radio.
Sorry guys, just one more thing. What Dave said has a whole heap to do with safety, and safety is absolutely paramount. We've missed it. About 10 years ago I was racing on a boat here, we had a guy man overboard. We retrieved him in a very, very proficient and effective way and still got a good result in the race, which I guess was secondary after the fact that we got him on board. Talk amongst yourselves. Things do happen out there, they can happen out there. So make sure that you do have a man overboard position in place. Don't stand in between high load areas where blocks can blow up, and just look after yourselves out there. 8:30 tomorrow. 8:30 tomorrow. We do have a sliding scale of what time this is on due to the start times and the tides. I'll just pass you back to Graham, but think safety out there too, guys.
Thank you. Round of applause, please, for Speezy and David. Thank you very much. And as Speezy said, we'll be back 8:30 tomorrow morning for the briefing for race 2. Have a great day on the water.
Oh, yeah, good morning. Simon Hull, over from New Zealand for your fantastic Hamilton Island Race Week. Boat we brought over this time. We've been over here a couple of times with a big trimaran, with Vodafone trimaran. But this time we brought over a GC32, which is a new small foiling boat, new class. And yeah, hoping for some nice flat water and nice conditions for us. We raced Ely Beak beach race week last week, and that was pretty windy, pretty lumpy. So we're hoping for some flatter water so we can really let the boat do her stuff. So yeah, that's us, and looking forward to your beautiful waters.